Every night in America, there are thousands and thousands of children who go to bed without a roof over their heads, and they fall into the category of being homeless and in danger of predators. And many of those predators may be people that they know. But the fact that children in America are having to deal with these kinds of challenges, it said that 1 in 30 of American children are homeless today. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. It's a time for advocates and survivors, their loved ones, and the community to come together to talk openly about sexual violence and to support survivors and increase knowledge and awareness and to take a look at some strategies and resources to help prevent sexual violence. I am really, really excited to have my guest, Coach Marie McKenzie. She is an award winning author and she helps rape victims. And she has an incredible story of her own. So, Coach McKenzie, thank you so much for being with us tonight on Sisters of Wellness. First of all, I want to talk about your book. I don't want to run out of time to talk about your book. Tell us why you decided to write your book. I remember one of the things that you said to me, good things never keep us up at night. It's those things that we replay over and over in our minds. Tell us what happened to you.
Many years ago, at the age of 11, my aunt's husband added me to his list of victims. Prior to that, I had no clue he was a pedophile. But subsequent to that, I learned that he had made his way through the neighborhood and beyond. This was something that was well known among family members and neighborhood, people living in the neighborhood. But I don't think to this day he had ever been held accountable. Like so many of the victims I have met and cared for, and even friends and family members who share their own story. Silent bystanders, people who protect the pedophile and, show no support for the victims. I hadn't disclosed or told anyone about my incident until, I was, way in my adulthood. But there are victims who have not been believed or who were blamed. You wanted it, you caused this on yourself. So my story, that's where it started. And other incidents throughout my young adulthood and teenage years.
So you were 11 years old. How did this happen? Because people may think that they're keeping an eye on their children. Where did this happen?
Oh, right in our living room.
In the living room.
In the living room, while other family members were hustling and bustling. There was a home birth that was taking place because in Jamaica, and back then that happened. It was his wife who was in labor right next to the living room where
Wait. His wife was in labor?
His wife was in labor. He was showing no concern. You could hear the moans and groans. Her distress was reverberating through the walls. Anybody could have walked in on us where we sat. He was reading a newspaper. He just spread it across both our legs, and then his hand snaked up underneath the newspaper. Well, you must have done it before, I thought of afterwards, without any repercussions, because he couldn't have been that bold if this was something he was starting,
There, those who may be tuning in, our guest, Virginia Green, was not able to be on, and Coach Marie McKenzie, so kind and to be with us this evening on Sisters of Wellness to continue our conversation about April being Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And Coach McKenzie, in the work that you do, you are a registered nurse and you work with rape victims. But back to what happened with you with your uncle. What are you thinking at the time? Do you recall? And did you try to tell anybody afterwards?
No, I didn't. And for many years, I didn't. I wasn't threatened. I don't know. I just thought, oh, my aunt just had her baby, didn't want to bring the distress or the shame on the family. Don't know why my little 11-year-old brain went there. And no, being in this field now as a sexual assault nurse examiner, I know a lot of victims do try to protect others before even thinking of themselves. Some are threatened, some
Mm.
are ashamed because they think this is something that they caused, not realizing, no, someone did this to you. This is not your fault. It's not my little 11-year-old self's fault. I didn't cause it on me.
And so it happened, that was the first time. And then what were the other encounters like?
Other encounters in high school, I was almost raped by the captain of the football team who, in broad daylight, dragged me into an unfinished buildings while other students stood by and laughed.
Wow.
Other students stood by and laughed. I fought him off, jumped through a window. They continued laughing, although I could see the surprise on their face that I got away and so quickly. The speed with which I got out, they knew I wasn't raped. So I could have stayed in there being victimized and no one would have come to my assistance. They
It
stood outside and laughed.
it's said that every 68 seconds in the United States of America, a rape happens, which is staggering to think of how many people are being raped right now as we have our conversation.
Yes,
And 95% of those rapes happen by people that we know.
exactly.
So the event that you are doing with Virginia,
Veronica. Yes,
Veronica, this coming Saturday,
yes.
keep the conversation going. Tell me, as you're doing your work, how is it? Because there are people that are listening. I don't know anybody, if they tell the truth. Maybe it is somebody who hasn't had something like this happen to them in some sort of way. How do we get over this shame? What is it that you say to us to get over the shame?
I think it's constantly talking about it, reassuring victims that it's not your fault. This is something that someone do to you. There are evil people out there. And, although we may be doing everything right, not we don't make and even if we choose, say a victim chose to like, okay, I'm going to have a drink and become impaired. That doesn't say rape me.
Hmm.
And there'll be blame for the victim. Oh, she got drunk or he got drunk, because there are male victims also. Maybe he got drunk or she got drunk. But what about the perpetrator?
Yeah.
Teach the perpetrators, do not rape. Parents, teach your sons, do not rape. And women out there who are perpetrators, you know, they're just there to take advantage of and abuse.
Yeah, I am going to be doing a story with a young man whose sister raped him. So we do always hear the stories about men raping girls or uh, however those same gender or but there are women
Yes.
teachers who take advantage of boys in school, and it baffles my brain to think that we as humans are so demented that we just don't care about the consequences of the things that we do. We don't care till we don't want to tell on somebody and we don't want to shame the family.
Yes.
Oh,
And another point that you touched, the sibling rape. We don't talk about that a lot, but there are siblings who abuse other siblings. Now, and a lot of times the parents also try to push that under the rug because they don't want to bring shame on the family. Now they have two victims, the perpetrator and the victim.
yeah. Parents pushing it on the rug. I interviewed a young lady whose father raped her and the brother. had ongoing relationships with she and her sister and the mother. Um, this do we see any progress? Because it's said that over the course of this pandemic that we've had, the situation that was already bad got worse.
Got worse because now people were shut in for longer periods of time. School used to be an escape. Work environment used to be an escape. Now you have parents and the children locked in the same environment for days and days at a time. So providing more opportunities for the abuser to take advantage of the victims. So it did get worse. However, I have to say the conversation has gotten louder. There are
Mm.
more and more people who are talking about this. We just have to keep talking.
I hope in the book that I've written, The Art of Forgiveness, I do tell the story of being raped my freshman year of college and stayed quiet all of these years and realized, and I want you to speak to this, that that incident that happened to me in college, my freshman year of college, being raped, having an abortion, not having the wherewithal to manage those emotions and the hurt and the pain and the guilt, suppressing it, and how that plays out in the rest of our lives and the rest of our relationships and how we see ourselves and what we're worthy of.
Yes, unresolved trauma. You're
Unresolved
reliving
trauma.
it. You feel the shame. You get angry. Why didn't I fight back? Why didn't I do this? And you don't get the healing that you so deserve to step out and live a life of full potential. But thankfully, now you have received healing. Now I have, because for a lot of years I made bad choices. I had suicidal thoughts.
Mm.
I couldn't show up for myself because I just hadn't taken care of that little 11-year-old girl that was still suffering on the inside.
And what are the odds of when someone is abused, sexually assaulted? What's the likelihood? What do you find in the work that you're doing of that happening again?
Oh, I've seen so many victims that were abused multiple times. Victims that were abused as a child, mostly by the mother's boyfriend or neighbor or someone close to the family. Most times they've reported it and not believed or blamed. So they harbor that anger, guilt, and shame that leads to, maladaptive behaviors, bad choices, drugs, alcohol, running around with the wrong crowd,
Yeah.
because whoever offers you that love and acceptance, that's who you're going to go towards. And most of the time, those are not people who have your best interests at heart. So you ended up being victimized all over again.
And if nobody else is doing it to you, you do it to yourself in your blame and your unworthy of the good things that the
Exactly.
Creator has in store for us. Would you speak to that as I put my hand on my own head, having to pray for me?
Yes.
Um, looking in the mirror, what do you recommend people to do in these situations?
There are so many resources out there. Um, a lot of a lot of times the victim will like hold things in, one, because they're not believed, or they don't want to embarrass the family or even the perpetrator. Now, I was asked a question once. I was doing a talk, and my response was, weigh your healing against the shame on the family.
Hmm.
I mean, what would you give the priority to? And those people who you are thinking of, I don't want to shame them, would they have put you first? If they're not going to believe and support you, that means they're not going to put you first. They're going to put the family first and think of how this is going to embarrass the family or put shame and disgrace on the perpetrator. So we have to change what we are saying to ourselves. I am worthy. I matter. I am worthy of everything that the Lord has for me. I am worthy of living a life of full potential. And I can't do that unless I am healed, because I won't be able to recognize and accept what God has for me unless I receive healing. I can't do that while I'm still suffering from lack of self-worth, self-esteem, feeling anger and shame, and reliving the trauma.
Coach Marie McKenzie, award-winning author. What's the name of your book?
Things that keep me up at night.
Things That Keep Me Up at Night.
Yes.
Did you initially set out to write a book? And how therapeutic was that for you to write about what happened to you?
I had not even thought of writing a book or just sharing my story in a book form. I was on a podcast, which was the first time I shared, and that was total by accident. I was being interviewed on my role as a sexual assault nurse examiner, and I shared my story. However, the book came about. I was on Facebook one night. It was January of 2021. And this thing popped across my feed about a 30-day writing challenge hosted by Nalena Kai. She's an Essence magazine and New York Times bestselling author. So I attended the informational session, and that night she told us about what the meeting was about. They were calling authors to write their memoir or a self-help book. So I chose the memoir. And I remember she said, if you're going to write about something that hurts, do not do it at night. And
Mm.
the meeting was at the night. And as soon as I got off, I started writing. And I wrote the first part of the first chapter where I was first molested. And I don't know why I'm smiling, because this is not a smiley topic. That I guess that's why not many people like to address it. But I've remained quiet for such a long time. It's freeing to be able to talk about it, to share the story, advocate for victims, because I know this is helping others.
Is your uncle and aunt, are they still alive?
Yes, and still married.
What was said when this book was written? Did you call them up and say, I'm going to tell this story?
No, I haven't heard from them. I've heard from other members of the family. Some are upset. I'm not sure about what in the book because they have not verbalized it to me. But there are others who are like, it's your story and it's yours to tell. More power to you.
So when people get ready to tell their stories, where did you get the courage? Were you thinking about what is going to happen with my aunt and uncle? And have there been any of his other victims? Because you said he raped other children.
Well, I didn't think about how it would affect them or other members of the family. I thought of how it would help me. It was cathartic for me.
Mhm.
And I didn't even think of how it would help others, actually. It ended up playing a big role, but I didn't think about it. And the only concern I had, my mother had died by then, and my youngest brother, I was like concerned how he would take it. And he's one of my biggest supporters to
Mhm.
this day. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I wasn't even concerned about anybody else after that.
Yeah.
Yes. But I knew this was a story that needed to be told.
And so you said you have not heard from them.
No. I've heard from other members of the family who are, oh, very, very supportive. The ones who have an issue have not said anything directly to me.
So, as a young person, young adult, when you would be in this uncle's company, what was that like for you?
Extreme discomfort, which I masked since
Mhm.
I had not shared the experience with anybody else, and have been to their house. And when I visit Jamaica, I think the last time I was there was 2015. I've been to their house, and it's okay.
But you hadn't written the book yet.
Oh yeah, no, the book had not been written
Had
yet.
not been written in
2015.
2015.
No, no.
I was speaking to someone else who said that she was raped when she was 5 years old. She told her mother about it. Her mother took her to this man that was in their community from Jamaica also and asked him if he did it. He said no, and she got punished.
Yeah, that's the mentality, and I don't get it.
Yeah,
Did she think he was going to say yes? That boggles the mind.
yeah,
Yeah. And a lot of these women, I'm not saying this one was, a lot of the mothers were victims themselves. So they really don't know how to handle their young daughter or son disclosing to them that they're victims.
yeah. Louise McKinney. Louise, did you get your book? She was saying, so true. Yes, we are worthy. She says she's enjoying your guests. Forgiveness releases us from feeling unworthy.
Yes.
Forgiving ourselves and forgiving them and accepting.
Yes. Forgiveness. That's a huge one.
Yeah. Um, what do you say to parents? What do you say to parents when children come to them? How do you talk to parents about addressing the fact that your child has come to you rather, and said, I have been whatever they say in their little minds, whatever they can say.
Believe them. I believe you. And offer reassurance. Offer reassurance. First, believe, offer reassurance, and try to get them some help. Sometimes it may prove that the story is not how it was reported, but at the time when you receive the report, I believe you.
Yeah.
Let's get you some help. Let's explore what happened and how we can get you through this. And there are many times when the children don't disclose until they're adults. Now, parents, I encourage you to see, okay, this is my 40-year-old, but she was raped at 5. This is your 5-year-old reporting this to you, because the 40-year-old is still the unhealed 5-year-old inside.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you find it amazing? Do you find it amazing that this very sacred vessel that we have, that the demons use this kind of behavior to attack humans, and we are so silent about it, whether it's in the family, in the church, the two places where we are to find the love of the creator, and demons, and we don't even call it demons. We don't even like to say that word anymore,
No,
but it's demonic.
it is demonic. And the thing with pedophile is they pray where they are trusted mostly.
Yeah.
They're not running around on the street mostly. They pray where they are trusted, in our homes, churches, schools, where they befriend the family. They're a pillar of the community. So the first thing the victim may think, oh, nobody's going to believe me. And they will tell the victim that. If you tell anyone, they won't believe you.
Because we're not talking enough about it to our children. And as you said, so many parents don't have the words to talk about it to their children because they've never healed from the sexual assault that they encountered in
Yes.
their lives.
Yes. I had someone who called me, and it's 4 generations. She was raped, her daughter, granddaughter, grandson, just down the line. And the vicious cycle, you know, when is that generational curse going to break, and who is going to get healing and confront it and talk about it?
That's the point.
Yes. So
That that
we,
that
us,
yeah, we want to go catch robbers and um, you know people who do not that that's okay, but
right.
there are people that are being robbed of their souls.
Yes. Because this is a crime against the soul, I think. It's like,
Yes.
it's, oh, it's unlike any other.
And then that sets the course for the rest of your life. April is both National Child Abuse Prevention and Sexual Awareness and Prevention Month. And let's keep the conversation going. There is a free event on Eventbrite on April 22nd from 10 to 1 Eastern Time. Um, please join that event, make your reservations, and invite some people because if nothing else, let me tell you, if we saw all that took place on Color Purple, we see it over and over again in movies. We hear the stories. One young lady told me that when she turned 16, it was her job to take her granddaddy to pay his bills every month, and every month he had sex with her. Now, you can't tell me that the rest of the women in the family
Didn't
didn't
know.
know that granddaddy was a nasty SOB
Yes.
and was a demon. Granddaddy was a demon.
Yes.
And because we're not calling it that, ah, I want us to heal and because this has got to stop.
It
And the
has to
only way
stop.
it has to stop.
We have to stop being silent bystanders.
Yeah.
We have to get involved, get educated, get educated, find out what's going on there, look for the signs, because there are signs. Get enraged and get engaged.
Get
We who are
enraged,
talking just got to keep talking.
get enraged and get engaged. Louise McKinney, I'm so glad you got the book, The Art of Forgiveness, because it was such a healing process for me to talk. And I didn't even realize that I was still suffering. I didn't even realize it. Started reading already and shared it on my Facebook. Congratulations. I appreciate that so much. And she says also it is demonic spirit um, going to and from, oh yeah, going to and from human. That cause must be broken. The curse must be
The
broken.
curse will be broken. Yes.
So try to act like I can see that. My God.
Yes. And you didn't realize you were still,
No, I didn't realize it.
because you had shut it down so deep,
Shut it down so deep,
and
but did
everything looked pristine on the outside.
oh yes.
Yes. It
But
looked like we got it all together.
yes, yes. Um, good jobs, you know, throughout my life, but attracting more demons to me called husbands. So failed marriages, broken relationships, me broken. Because, if you're broken and you hook up with somebody else's, two broken people is not going to equal a whole person.
Nope. You make each other more broken.
Yeah, yeah. I appreciate you sharing your journey. I appreciate the work that you're doing with victims. And thank you all for what you're doing with this event on the 22nd, this coming Saturday on Eventbrite. You can go there and register on Eventbrite. I will be there because I am a huge advocate for talking about this.
Yes,
Um, if we don't talk,
we will.
it is going to continue to get worse and people are going to be damaged. And the mental illness behind this is getting worse also.
Yes.
What is it that you're seeing when you, as far as how it impacts people mentally and their mental health?
Depression, suicidal, post traumatic stress, anxiety, panic attack, you name it. I've had victims that come to the hospital, oh, we have to Baker Act because they're suicidal,
And it
so
stems from them being raped as
yes,
children.
yes,
Well, I was told sometimes when you see these children in school and they are enraged all the time and they are out of control, that is one of the signs, wouldn't you
that could
say?
be a sign, yes. With even withdrawn, you have children who will revert to bedwetting. Those were already potty trained and in their, past bedwetting stage revert. So, parents, there are a sign. Know your children. Another important thing is tell them what's out there. Don't hide it from them. From there at the age where they could understand. Remember, you have children who are months old who are being raped. Don't wait until they're teens to start teaching them. As soon as they can understand, give their body parts the proper name. Tell them what's out there, what's a proper touch, what's okay for an adult to do and not to do. Let me know if that happens to you. Keep the lines of communication open. If you don't tell them, somebody else will, and you want them to get the correct information.
And what we're doing is continuing to hand damaged, hurting people to the world and expecting them to do well and excel.
Exactly. It's not going to happen.
Coach Maria McKenzie, how do people find you?
I am on all social media platform as Marie McKenzie. My website is www.marielmckenzie.com. I'm even on TikTok.
Ooh, look at you. Look
It's
at
fun.
you.
Yes, it's actually fun.
Again, I thank you for hopping on at the last minute. I really, really appreciate you, my sister, for what you're doing on and off the screen. And Louise McKinney, what did she say? Appreciate both of
Yes,
sisters
yes,
bringing awareness of forbidden topic. Yes, speak to your kids. Yeah,
yes, yes, yes.
yeah.
Thank you so much
Moms,
for inviting me. And so glad I was able to jump on.
well, anytime.
Yes. And
I
this is a
appreciate it.
conversation I love to talk about. I love to advocate for victims of sexual violence. And I don't want to shut up now that I'm talking. So call me anytime.
I appreciate it very much. And for all of you who are watching, whether you're watching on YouTube, if you are on YouTube, please, we would appreciate it if you would subscribe and share on LinkedIn and on Facebook. I think when we continue to be silent, that the Creator is going to hold us accountable. It's called
Yes.
being complicit. It's called being complicit.
It's called being complicit. I
Yeah,
endorse that.
yeah. Let's heal the eyes and the soul in the mirror so that we can be strong enough to stand up against this demonic force that's wreaking havoc on our souls.
Yes.
Thank you very much for watching. I'm Pamela Marshall at the Wellness Radio TV and at the Wellness Radio TV podcast. Remember, there is healing at the well. Make it a fantastic moment.